Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, RP Refugees podcast. Ted here, John here. I open up loud, and John just like wait, gotta wake John up. Gotta get John up. Gotta get John going.
My ears exploded.
Yes.
I think I'm deaf now, so we'll see how it goes.
Yes. But welcome in, folks. We're doing the show again this week. Another disappointing DC game, but I still had a pretty good weekend. One of my teams managed to win a soccer game. I am wearing that jersey of said team, or one of the little kits I got for free of said team.
It's a classic kit right there.
It is a very much a classic kit. But John, how are you doing, my friend? How was your weekend?
I don't even remember. What day is it? Is it Monday? I guess it was all right. It was fine. It occurred. That DC United game was, I'm glad that it was in the middle of the day on Saturday, that we didn't have to alter our lives in any way to watch it. I think it's good, which is not to say that I'm severely disappointed, but it also was not appointment. It was not appointment viewing. I think that's clear.
I'm going to adjust my camera a little bit. There we go. That looks better. More centered in the center. Let's just dive right into it. DC United, a 3-1 loss. Oh, sorry. I did not read my special notes, John. First, you have a Patreon contest that you want to mention.
I do. And I once again don't have the scarf here, but I did tweet about it today. We are raffling off I don't know if it's a contest. It's not a raffle. Our lawyers have advised us to say that it's a contest. So we're giving away a exclusive DC United cherry blossom scarf to the person who sends us the best cherry blossom content, and that content will be whatever you want it to be, but the idea is to convince DC United to produce a cherry blossom scarf. All you have to do is become a Patreon at the $5 tier, or if you already are a Patreon, you're entered in. We'll pick the winner on June 1st, so we've got a third of the month down and just so many entries already. So make sure you get yours in, because it's going to be competitive. The end.
Yeah. Yes, get your goals in, support the show, and you get a cool scarf. The scarf everybody wants, and maybe the jersey soon that everybody wants.
Yeah, twofer.
Yes, hopefully they have better jersey selection right now than the Richmond Kickers. I'm very disappointed.
I like the new ones.
Give me. I like the new ones. I want one, but you go to the shop and you can't buy. The largest size you can get is a large, and
what? They don't know their fans. They don't know the American soccer fan at all.
I think they did I think they did all pre-orders, and then now they've just got like kind of what's left. So I'm hopeful they're going to refill up, or they'll restock. I don't know. I think I might call the shop and figure out something there. So I want the new jersey. I want the new red one. I don't the cookie jerseys are like, okay, I understand the importance of it, but it's just a white jersey with U crops written in rainbow cookies. So
I love rainbow cookies.
Yes, they are good.
I mean, I guess I don't really know. Are they different? Are they a Richmond delicacy that I'm unaware of? Or
yeah, they are. They are in fact a Richmond delicacy. They are famous amongst Richmond. You walk in any store, you get the rainbow cookies. So they are certainly that it. All right. I believe we have a special guest on the line. It's a very surprise guest. We have Own Goal coming, leading goal scorer for DC United. Own Goal, welcome to the show. How does it feel after 7 years or 8 years or however long it's been to be back in the lead as the leading goal scorer on DC United?
Well, thank you very much for having me on the show. I'm very, very excited to once again be the leading scorer for DC United. My boy Fred Brillant is helping me in many ways, and I've just missed it. I've missed the city. I've missed the people. It's just a great time to be back.
What makes you so dangerous? How are you suddenly back in the lead as the leading goal scorer?
Well, it's all about being in the right place at the right time, and for me, that's being directly in front of the goal and not having the reaction time necessary to do anything but put it in the net. It's been a couple years. I was at RFK and then I went elsewhere in the league. I don't actually know where I went. I think I was in Toronto for a while. I think that was where I was very popular for a bit. I'll have to check the books. I've traveled a lot, but this is my first time back in DC in a few years, and I'm just here to make goals happen. It's very important to score.
And what is the you're getting some hate, by the way, in the chat. We got some own goal out going on right now.
Well. Oh, I would expect nothing less from DC United fans. This is just typical. It's just typical.
It was what targets you got set for this year.
Oh, the sky is the limit for me. I really think that I think that my record here was 6 goals, I believe, as a leading scorer in I think 2013. And we're gonna go for 7. I think we're gonna it's always about improving. So that's really what we're trying to do here. And thank you for all your support. If anyone were to get a new DC United jersey with own goal on the back, I think it would be a great thing to do. And I think that the show may send you. I'm not on the show, but I think the show may send you a free scarf. So just think about it and send pictures to the show. If you want. But I'm just happy to be here. I will be back. It is very likely that I will return to the show at some point. Should I accomplish my goal of scoring 7 goals? So thank you for having me. I must go. I have to train. I have to be ready to go. I have 2 games this week, so I'll see you around.
Get that running in Losada's done. Yes. So thank you, Own Goal.
Au revoir.
Thank you, Own Goal, for joining the show. If you loved that segment as much as I did, please direct all your email to john@rfprefugees.com. Thank you very much.
What happened? What did I miss? I'm sorry. My camera went out for a minute.
Oh yeah, man, we lost you. Sorry, we're professionals. We move on. All right, let's in all seriousness. Let's talk about the DC 3-1 loss to the Columbus Crew. Let's jump right into it. It's hard to really come up with obviously injuries were a factor again. Joseph Mora pulling up.
Do not tell that to Aaron Losada, though. Don't talk about injuries. Do not do it.
I believe Jason Anderson asked him an actual soccer related question, and he was like, "Oh, thank God, someone is actually."
Yes.
No one is asking me about the stupid injuries. So here's what I'll say about the injuries. I made a sort of snide tweet towards Mr. Taylor Twellman. I feel like there are a lot of people in the national media who rightfully, DC is not the most exciting team or most interesting right now. The only interesting thing about DC United is that they've got a new coach that no one had ever heard of before they hired him. He's in with a team that didn't make many changes, and he's trying to make the system work. So the only real story, maybe some people are talking about, how good, Moses Diamond has looked stepping in, but those aren't going to, that's not going to drive engagement. That's not going to drive interest. What's going to drive interest is when you've got 3 field players on your bench.
Yes.
You can have a maximum of 9. So I understand where all the media is coming in. If you really break it down, I do believe now the one injury that was interesting was Knaus's. I was like, why isn't Knaus out here? If this was just a COVID vaccination thing, that seemed a little interesting to me. And then you have Brendan Hines-Ike tweeting a picture of him with a nice little shiner on his cheek. That was interesting in some cases, but I think also was kind of a no, this wasn't a hamstring. Look at my face. Move on. I do wonder if that was sort of the ploy behind that. I think he's now deleted it. I tried to go back and find it. I think he deleted it.
That day. I think they were saying we didn't need to not let Columbus know ahead of time that we have 3 players, or at that time 4 players. It changed during the warm-ups, and we'll talk about that. But I think that was they're probably like, let's keep that on the down low there, Brendan. Particularly since you have 4 posts on Instagram. So it's like, well, are you a big social media guy all of a sudden? You got to share everything right away? What happened?
Yeah. I do think that was an attempt to dispel maybe a little bit that was fitness related. Oh, it's, I don't, my eye is swelling up. Though I've seen players play.
Yeah, I think everyone knows Brendan. Brendan is one of the fit guys. Brendan's one of he's in Ernon's camp, and he's like, you don't even want to know what my blood oxygen level is when I run. It's amazing.
But all things considered, and we get into the own goals. One of them I think is just honestly at wrong place, wrong time, bad luck. Sometimes you have those. Sights goes down, makes a hard shot, makes the save. Brilliant's right there covering, and it just kind of deflects off him in the goal. The second one is part on Sights and part on Brilliant. I think I'm lack of communication. I think Brilliant's really had kind of a rough go of it as of late. when other options start to get healthy, like Birnbaum and like some others, maybe we look at some different ones. Again, I look at, I think I think I looked at that game and I said, again, I'm asking myself, I think if Bill is there, he is bowling over Brilliant, not caring about his well-being and grabbing that ball. I mean, that's his, but that's not Sites. Sites tried to predict where it was going to be. Brilliant maybe said, oh, the ball's going here, I need to make a play. Maybe that sends a little bit of a lack of trust, amongst Sites. Maybe Brilliant lets him have that ball. But either way, it's hard luck. It's hard luck in a lot of these games.
I was impressed that Brilliant was one of the player put forward on the press conference after the game. And I was also impressed that he did not throw Sites under the bus for the goal. It seemed to me like his what he wanted to say was like, yeah, there was miscommunication. I did not hear it, or he didn't say anything. Because that's more like, it's less likely that he heard, mine and then still was where he was. It's more likely that he heard nothing and then was just there. So, but he didn't throw him under the bus. So and he faced the music. He faced I think somebody asked him the question like, hey, why did you do that? why did you score 2 own goals? He was just like, man, sometimes it happens, but so good for him. But I think you're right. I mean, there are so many places on the field, and I think it's really, as far as post game, this has been the most interesting one. So let's talk about that later. We haven't actually talked about the game, but we'll get to that. But overall, I think that there are so many forced changes that make evaluation and make sort of like narratives very difficult about this team.
The one thing you can say from the stats is you look at the stats and you even watch the games. And I think people that pay attention to the games, and I think they're always the fans out there that look at the score or they watch the game and they're frustrated and like, this is bad. What are we doing? But if you have the context, you have what this team is dealing with, and you watch that game and you paid attention and you watched Moses Nyman throw off Giassi Zardes, you're seeing good things. You're seeing things to be positive about. It's not a case where I am down and negative on this team despite losing 3 games and losing 3 games by a combined scoreline of 7-2. Right? And then also this was buoyed by the fact that we finally got an offensive goal from offensive players in the run of play. And I'll get into a little bit about what I think that means, what I think that means to the team going forward. But I mean, overall, you're seeing this team go into 3 road games and hold each of those teams, I think, below 0.5 expected goals. Like they're shutting out chances. They are preventing them from gaining much of anything. Maybe not the San Jose game. I think they were over 1 expected goal, but still. Yeah. So you're looking at that as saying, like, if this team can just figure this out offensively, and that may be the toughest part, is getting an offensive tandem going in this game. You guys get back healthy, though. You get Arriola back. You get, maybe Ola Kamara starts to pick it up. Maybe maybe Ola Kamara has a connection with Edison Flores, like we saw on that assist. Which was the type of pass he made is the type of pass you expect from your $5 million player on that goal. Maybe if they can get those things together and they can continue to hold down that sort of expected goals, maybe they have something here. Maybe they have a team that, June, July can really start to make a run. The fitness comes back and everything comes back for this team. So I think all of that you can sort of take a look and say that there's a lot of positive here. It's not all doom and gloom and negativity, like I think we've seen in other years.
Surprisingly, too, social media is really flush with that sort of patience, and it's weird. I'm uncertain what fan base we've been teleported into. It is not the one that I remember or have known, but everyone is sort of taking this and saying, I think the stats nerds are looking at this and saying, like you said, look at the XG, look at the style, look at the fact that we're not being penned in, and see progress. Even people who are not about stats and are just looking at the scoreline, look at the number of people injured, look who's not on the field, and they understand this. What are you going to do? What you mean? Look at the players that are on the field. So speaking of the players on the field and the injuries, this has been now a couple of days ago, but we're still going to go through it because that's the way I think you should do it. Pre-game, Joseph Moore got injured. That forced Mr. Perez, my favorite mysterious player, to play left wing back for the first time in his career and play there for I think 90 minutes. Andy Nahar started. That's not what anybody wanted yet. At center back, played 60 minutes, was fine. No real problems there, I don't think. Yeah. Kamari Smith had his first start, played around 70 minutes, 65 minutes, was fine. I think he was better in the very beginning of the game, and then he sort of disappeared and floated around for much of it.
He moved for me ahead of Sorga on the depth chart. If I'm looking at the depth chart of forwards, he's now moved ahead. I would rather see him out there now than I would rather see Sorga. I think he committed. He did all the things I think that Sorga was doing, the press, everything else, and just brought a little more offensive ability. So I think he's up there on my list as far as that goes.
It felt not necessarily even, but it did not feel particularly troubling until the foul that gifted Columbus a goal in the 20th minute. Zella Ryan's free kick. What did you think about Chris Seitz's position in there and his push off on that? Do you think it was savable? It was a good shot, but does it seem like something that they should have been able to keep out of the net?
I don't know. Maybe there's a tweak or two you could have at his positioning. I think maybe I think what you're getting out of Seitz is you have a serviceable to sometimes can be pretty good shot stopper goalkeeper in there. You have a guy who is not, if you are flush on the offensive end, he's not going to lose you games. At the same time, he's not going to win you any games either. And Bill Hamid has that incredible athletic ability. Maybe Hamid is able to get a hand to that, make a save to that. We've seen him do things like that. Mm-hmm. Maybe he has that ability to sort of command that 6-yard box and that 18-yard box to sort of stop things from that's really a part of his game. He's developed that. I don't think he gets a lot of credit for, and it's something he struggled with early on, and he's really developed it. His ability to sort of command that 18, and when the ball comes in that 6-yard box, he's getting it. And that's been really good. I think getting him back, if the team is still like this, maybe there's maybe if this team is still struggling, maybe we're looking at, maybe we hold this game, nothing through the first half, and then we score a quick goal or something like that. So,
yeah, and I think he's close. I think of the players that are in the injury, I think he's back in full training or nearing full training. So, look for him to be back sooner than later. I think maybe not this game Thursday, but maybe this weekend. Just based on some sort of the training reports we're hearing. So that goal happened. For the rest of the half, I don't believe DC United was giving too much of a threat on goal. The first own goal, our erstwhile guest own goal, scored his first in the 63rd minute off of I believe that was that an errant clearance by a center back? Was it by Nahar? I'm trying to remember what happened on that first own goal. I don't really particularly remember at this point.
Yeah, all I know is it was a hard shot by Santos, and it was probably a tough save for any keeper to make, and to why I'm not giving maybe Seitz a little bit too much on that, but he gets the save, it kind of deflects, and Brilliant's kind of right there. Maybe you question his positioning there. Does he need to be that close? He's trying to maybe cover the back. Does he need to be maybe preparing, slot a little bit out wider, maybe preparing for for a deflection and an on-looking pass? Kind of odd. I think that does maybe come down to a little bit of communication between the two. And maybe that's something that can be worked on. I do think there seems to be between Brilliant and Seitz maybe a little bit of a trust issue. Maybe Brilliant isn't quite fully trusting of Seitz to go out and play that. And that can impact how you interact as a defender. I got to be there because I'm not sure my goalkeeper can handle this. And I think that's what we saw maybe a little bit on the first goal and certainly a lot on the second goal, on the second own goal. So
let's talk about the exciting thing that happened. The moment of hope that we were all saying, oh, we're back in this game.
Moses Nyman bodying off Giassi Zardes.
The second moment of hope, I suppose. Yes. That happened.
Well, let's talk about how you looked, because what gives me a lot of hope about Moses Nyman is sort of his ability. He has grown, his ability to grow, and that there seems to be, I think there's a level of coachability with him that I think we haven't seen from a lot of, where you see the skills, you see it all there, but the coach tells him to do something and he doesn't quite get it. And we're seeing him grasp things he was much more interactive. I looked at his defensive stats for this game. He was much more active in recoveries. He won 2 tackles. Of course, he had a really, just sort of bodied off Giassi Zardes. And that was like watching this like little ant, like throw off a leaf or
much
something.
larger ant,
throw off a bug or something like that. I mean, it was quite interesting to watch. And that was very good. Passing looks good. I mean, again, this kid is 17 and he's out here, playing with professionals, and every game you put him in, he seems like he kind of starts slow and you're like, it's raw, but there needs to be more. And you see it grow and grow and grow as he gets minutes and he gets more time. So that's a huge positive for this team. And, when Knaus comes back, we've got a little bit of a potential, logjam at midfield. We weren't sure whether he could break through. And right now it seems like maybe he's a better option there than Junior Moreno. So I don't know.
Hernan said he was the best player on the team right now. So that's major that he's seeing that. I think the most interesting thing that came out of the press conference was I see who's on the field right now. I see who's healthy. I see who's giving me all that they can give right now when we need them the most. And when those other players come back healthy now, finally, they won't walk right into this team. Mm-hmm. You basically will get credit for being available. The old saying is, the most important ability is availability. And the players that are able to play on the field right now are going to find themselves in a better position later on in the year. And I think Moses Nyman being there, getting his opportunities and then excelling is fantastic for him. We were concerned of all the players. We were less. I think we thought Griffin Yao would get some opportunities because of some early on in the season, some wing differences, some wing depth challenges. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be Moses, and that's I think that he's got the highest ceiling of any of the young players. So that's great for his development. We were hoping that he would get a lot of opportunities, and he looks like he might get certainly more than we thought. He's already gotten 2 starts through 4 games, so that's awesome for him. Go ahead.
Yeah, we talk about the goal. Is that where you're going next? Yeah. Yep. Let's talk about the goal. So I feel like I was a little bit upset at this goal because it happened.
I was too, and I'll tell you why. Go ahead, continue.
Because it happened, and then I was like, oh, we're back in this game. All right, we got 8 minutes. Like we can push. Maybe we can sneak a point out of this game. And then it was immediately dashed. And not only does it's like right back the other way, and it's like you kind of just forget about everything that went well. You forget about the fact that Flores in the center of the field. You forget about the fact that Kamara makes a really smart run. He holds himself in, he keeps himself on side. He's looking at the center, and he then makes a very, very confident finish at a somewhat tight angle.
Yep.
Everything that you expect out of a center forward and your best player to do happened on that play. That tells me right now, Ola Kamara should be the starter. No one else on this field, Camardi Smith, Eric Sorga, Robertha, has done anything to put themselves anywhere in position to get position and score goals. Kamara comes on the field and does it within like 5-10 minutes. Mm-hmm. So
I think the most important thing was the confidence at which he took the opportunity, his first opportunity, a couple of minutes on. And that's what was missing from him last year in my mind, is that he would get frantic in front of goal instead of composed. Mm-hmm. So that's a great look. The thing that matters most about him now is being able to be fit, keeping those hamstrings fit, particularly as the amount of running that's going to be demanded in this position. We were talking earlier, like, is he in the doghouse because he wasn't playing and wasn't back yet fit? He's going to have to press. For a guy with hamstrings that are questionable, that is a challenge. Mm-hmm. So let's hope that he, like you just said, of the forwards that we have healthy right now, or even on the roster in general, he's got the best track record. So let's hope that he can continue this on and get those opportunities. The pass was fantastic. I think it was a chance because of the pass being so good. You'd hope that most forwards would finish that, but you don't. They all wouldn't. Clearly, they all wouldn't, and not even on this team. But that's what you want on your 9, right? Is you make the chances that you should make, and make a couple of the ones that you shouldn't.
And I think it's important. It's important on a number of fronts also to see that out of Edison Flores, and lends to the theory that maybe Edison Flores, he's not a Reynoso, he's not a Zalarayon. He's not going to be such a magnetic force that he makes everybody better, but But if you put players around him that can see the game the way the game he does, can have the vision and the ability to be in front of goal, maybe he can be that. Maybe he can be that player. Maybe he can be that $5 million player. If there are guys that can think on his level and can connect on his level. Mm-hmm. And can give him options and opportunities. And that's what we saw there. So that lends into that fact, which is why I was very happy that moment happened, because that hopefully for me, it bought a little bit more time. Like, okay, let's see, maybe an Arriola comes in and he's able to connect with him well. We got Julian Gressel, I thought was okay. I didn't think he was great. I think he's doing a lot of great defensive work. The offensive work would left little to be desired. But if you can sort of get that connection going, and then, of course, we'll see what happens with Mora. And Jonathan points out you don't play that player $5 million. Okay, but
we don't pay him anything.
That's fine. I get a little bit. I get a little bit on people when they start talking about what they expect out of certain players. I mean, if they're going out there and playing a system and the team wins, then who cares how much they paid for him? If he's out there being successful. If even putting a couple, a $700,000 player in or two $1.2 million, Arriola out there at $900 to $1 million, Ola Kamara suddenly makes him better and makes him going out there, and suddenly he has players with vision who can think at his level. Then that's going to make the team. That's going to make the team more successful. And it's going to make the team wins. I'm not so caught up in we should dump him and bring in somebody, because I'm sorry. I know other teams find those players, but those players don't grow on trees. Zellerans and Reynosos don't grow on trees. And sometimes you got to take a player that has skill. Maybe you get that, and that's great. But if not, then you have to figure out a way how to work him in the lineup, find players that can work with him, and allow him to be successful. You're not getting it from Emil Assad. Let's say that. He was awful. He was dreadful.
we'll talk about that too. Just to close that up. I think, and we talked about this on the show before, but I do think that there is strength in the argument saying that are you a team right now that would benefit greatly from a player like Flores at that cost? And that's a reasonable question. Like, where does this team really need that? And like you just said, they're hard to find, but is that maybe where you pay the premium and then you try to find? Flores is a great level player, right? Like, I think he's, we talked about it last week. If you had a bunch of him, if you had four more of him around this team, you're in the top, 5 of your conference, because he's got fitness and skill that's there, and he's competent. He's not going to make the mistake. He's going to make the smart play. Anyway, but let's talk about Emil Assad. Emil Assad is having a very rough go of it so far this year.
Yeah.
Originally, you could have written that off to fitness. He was talked about sort of saying that like he's not 60 minutes fit, and that was in the first game against New York City. I don't think it's not really fitness. It's just decision making. Fitness can affect decision making. You can be tired and make bad decisions. That's certainly possible. But he's making bad decisions at the start of games. It's not just at the end of games. He's just, I think that, and Hernan mentioned it basically. It was basically like saying like we need a lot more from our offensive players overall, but specifically. And I think he's singling out Emil. And if there were anybody else that he could put in there right now to give Emil a blow and sit him on the bench, he would, but there's not.
Yeah. And we'll see. I'll be very curious who comes out on the field on Thursday. I think if we start hearing about some players being healthy and some players, being close to recovery, like a Paul Arriola, maybe you don't start Paul right off the bat, but maybe you look at maybe you say, Emil, you got one half. You got one half to get this right. 60th minute rolls around. I'm yanking you and I'm putting in, and that might be your place for the rest of the game. I thought maybe there were some updates on DC, but I couldn't find. I can't remember if there was any sort of like injury updates as to who's available or who's almost maybe available.
Yeah, there's three of the long-standing players are in training, but it's just a question of how much more time that's going to take. And we've got 2 games this week, so that's a real question about what. I really think that they need to avail themselves of this Loudoun United 3-game contract or 3-day contract thing. Loudoun doesn't play for another week. They had a week off here. They just played an inter-squad scrimmage this weekend. Just get some bodies, man. You never know. Think of a concussion or injury happens, and then what do you got? John Kempen. John Kempen's going to play left back. Like what's the play?
Yeah.
Have bodies. Just professional soccer players of any stripe. Sit on the bench and just hang out. You get a free pupusa for playing the weekend. I don't know, but it seems like a really bad, unless they're certain that they're very close to filling that bench, which maybe they are. I feel like they really got to fill that. They've got to find some players.
I think, I think this is, again, we talked about that there's a higher ceiling for what Losada feels like is fit. And I think that is playing into some of these players. So I think the question is, we see players as out, but we don't know whether maybe they'll be back, next week. Even Kamara was kind of a mystery, and then he shows up this week. I mean, we had no indication whether he was healthy or ready to go. And then he travels and he's on the game day roster. So, that was one. We had no real indication that Felipe was going to be back or whether he was going to be healthy. I think I really do think it's temporary. We'll see if it does become a trend with, obviously more going out doesn't look good, pulling up, obviously, apparently, as Jonathan, I think, pointed out in the chat, Canales apparently had some muscle tightness. I missed that, along with related to the COVID vaccine. We'll see. I do like this. If this philosophy is, I'm going to push them really hard in training, but if I don't think they're really ready for game time, then they're going to sit. I think that's fair. And I think that's a good strategy, because you want to make sure that your players aren't pulling up limp in games, and maybe you give them that rest and they come back, and then you can start see that fitness developing. And I had a friend once tell me, you were the biggest critic of Klinsmann and some other coaches that do fitness. It's fitness where there's a purpose and there's a vision and a style of play that demands the fitness. And that's what I've started to come around to, this idea of, and the travel is really not that bad for DC. So I'm not even worried about the travel. The travel is very limited compared to, it's still bigger than probably most places in the world, but it's pretty limited when it comes to MLS. We did our only cross country trip, and that's already done. And we're like pretty much staying. We're basically not even breaking maybe the mountain time zone at all. So travel is very limited this year. So maybe this is a good year to have it happen.
No more Descended After Dark. We had our one go of it, which is fine, because that was a lot. And then of course the backbreaker happened literally 1 minute later. Apparently Tony Alfaro credited, I believe the ball was going in off of Brillant when Alfaro put it in, but according to MLSsoccer.com, it was Alfaro. So he's got 2 goals. Own goal is sharing his credit with Alfaro on that one.
Maybe he gets the own goal as a way to save Brilliant the embarrassment. But he is trying to make a play to save an own goal there, and unfortunately just goes in the back of the net. That is Brilliant's shame there. I wish maybe with own goals you have expected own goals. Do we want to talk about by the way, the fact that Ola, like, I actually got worried. I thought he had pulled up or something, like he had scored the goal and jumped, but apparently he was just holding back on his celebration because he used to play in Columbus.
Correct.
Like he was so excited that he scored, because it's been probably a pretty rough go of him for a bit.
Yep.
And then he kind of like pulls up and he's like, oh, and I really thought he had pulled something. But apparently he was just holding back on the celebration. That's the official story. I guess we'll find out.
It was. That's what it was. Yeah. I think it was. Some people hate that. I think Pablo talked about hating that. I think it's fine. I think it's a nice little hat tip to your former fans, and I think there's nothing wrong with that, unless they did you wrong and then go crazy. There's a lot of that too.
Shoot your shot on your goals.
So that was, overall, like we talked about on the start, this was sort of more of the same, in that DC United looks better than the results would dictate, and they're shorthanded, and it is what it is. We're not hitting the panic button. We're waiting for more players to get back and hoping that, we're seeing. I think I asked this last game as well. Were there any performances that you really liked, other than Moses? I guess Moses Nyman's the answer, right? There's no one else. Cameo appearance for Ola Kamara with results, but is it just Moses? Is it just Moses?
That's all I can really think. I guess right now, it was really just Moses Nyman. Everybody else was either average or slightly below average. I guess Andy Nahar didn't do anything bad, but also nothing noticeable. And when your defense gives up 3 goals, not being noticeable is kind of a negative in my mind. You didn't do anything that really made me go, oh, wow. I saw, I think I saw from some DC fans that Gressel was getting a lot of criticism. I thought he was okay. I thought he was kind of doing the best he could, I think, with the situation he was playing with. Perez was, most of everybody else, so there wasn't a whole lot else, I guess, other than those moments.
According to FootMob, the top 2 players for DC United were Edison Flores at a 7.6, and believe it or not, Adrian Perez at a 7.4. So I think there's a little bit of grade inflation there. Those are high numbers for a team that played the way they did. But overall, I'm ready for this 2-week game, and on Thursday we're going to have an opportunity to preview those 2 games for you. So make sure you check that out. But yeah, I think it's onward. Basically, we're just going to grind through this, right? We're just going to put our head down and keep on chugging, and hope everybody remains as patient as they are right now.
We can start actually like giving some assessments about how it's working, I think, once we can see 9 players on that bench.
Right. Once a choice can be made at all about lineups,
we can start doing that. A bit of news dropping on Thursday. 7,500 people will be allowed at Audi Field, which is really
June
good.
11th.
June 11th,
full
stadium. It's going to be wide open. So vaccinations are working and getting people out, just approved for 12, 15-year-olds. So get vaccinated. Do it. Vaccination is starting to level off, and we cannot have that. So if you have the ability to get vaccinated, please go get vaccinated. All right, we got Nations League, June 3rd, June 6th. Paul Arriola for the U.S., Joseph Mora, and Andy Nahar on provisional rosters for the Nations League, the semifinal and final. Mm-hmm. I would say Paul Arriola, if he can get up to speed, maybe. I'm not sure. Joseph Mora, if his injury is not too bad, probably. Andy Nahar, I'd say maybe a long shot though. I don't.
Please don't. Yeah. Please do not take Andy Nahar. leave him be, please. Thank you.
I thought Andy Nahar had like retired from the Honduras national team. I thought he had said he was done. I seem to remember that at some point.
Well, now he doesn't have to make transatlantic flights to play the games in qualifying from Belgium.
Jesse Leifert also brings up Kamari Smith. Yeah. There was nothing. I guess it was maybe a little bit of an improvement over Sorga, and I haven't been high on Sorga, so that's where I'll leave him at that. So didn't want to leave without talking a little bit about that. But yeah, we'll see the Nations League coming up in June. I'm sure we'll have some coverage of that. We'll watch that. Yep. Should be a lot of fun. All right, let's get into before we get into some actual local news. Let's talk about this Columbus Crew, this Columbus Crew logo change. Man, the first question I have is why? Why? What was the need to do this? You have the one good thing, if you have to talk about anything that Anthony Precourt did, the one good thing he did was the refresh of the logo. And I'm calling it a refresh because if you don't change the name, in my opinion, it's a refresh. There's not really a rebranding is when you change the entire complexion of the name, which is what they did here. This was a refresh. Hey, we're going to come up with this new logo. DC United's was not a rebrand. It was a refresh. They refreshed the logo, gave it a new look, kind of gave it a little more modern type look. I think for these teams like New England, even the Galaxy did it. It can improve the logo. It can give it a more professional look. They already did that refresh. It was great. It was fine. And then they kind of came out with this. And let's talk about, first of all, they are now Columbus SC.
Love it.
And they are now referred to as the Crew. So they are to me, it feels like they said, we want to put our stamp on this team. We want to create a new logo. We want to create a new identity. But we don't want to make people too angry. We don't want to completely get rid of the Crew moniker. So we are going to say we are Columbus SC, but we are affectionately known as the Crew. Kind of like how Bournemouth is known as the Cherries. Manchester United is known as the Red Devils, and we see that. And we see that with the Minnesota United being known as the Loons, so it can work. But you already are called the Crew. It's more of again, MLS just seems to do these types of things that kind of erase their history and kind of why we're not officially now known as the Columbus Crew. We are now Columbus SC. I don't know. I can understand the thinking behind it in a certain sense, but the execution is poor. To do it in the middle of the season, I know you're building a stadium, but to do it in the middle of the year is also bizarre.
Here's my one piece on it. They fixed it already. So the only thing that was weird about the Columbus Crew was the hard hat guys. Like that is there is some people that think that looks cool, and I happen to be one of them that thinks that is kitschy and kind of interesting, at least. But they fixed that already. They did basically a generic German-esque crest, and that was that. The name wasn't the problem. Mm-hmm. And also everyone's going to still call them the Crew forever, always. This is just an on paper move. It's just uninspiring. Like, I don't normally when you do this, you were thinking about A, you want to draw on new segments that were turned off by the old name. B, you want to sell a whole bunch of new merch with the new logo on it. And you're not gonna do either of those things. Like, no one wasn't going to Crew games because of the name and the logo, the new one. They were not going because the stadium was not downtown, I believe. I think that is true. The scoreboard would catch on fire. Who knows? Potentially a life hazard risk to go to a game there. That's why. It wasn't because of the name. And two, everybody's pissed about this. No one's gonna buy this new stuff. Like, it's just not gonna happen. It seems like a miss on both fronts.
And you talk about like what DC did. And I know there are certain segments of the fan supporter group that hate the new logo, think it looks terrible. I think it looks fine. I love it. I think it's what you do if you want to properly refresh your logo and not. The spirit of the old logo is still very much there. You can see the old parts of the logo they kept that were good parts of the logo. They just said, hey, we're just going to give it kind of a fresh coat of paint. We're going to get rid of the soccer ball. You talk about like what iconic logos look like. You talk about, in the US, you talk about the Yankees logo. That's an iconic logo. I'm just like, if MLS is going to do this each time they sell a club, how are they going to develop that kind of like iconic look and logo? You look at the Timbers haven't really changed their logo. You look at
yet.
Yeah. Well, actually,
they
did their rebrand of the logo, and it was so bad that they just took it and said, we're going to make this more professional. We're sorry. That was really bad. If you actually go look at the original Portland Timbers logo, it was awful. Sounders have a very solid logo. All these teams, and even the Galaxy, yes, they updated their logo when Beckham came here, but they've kept that now, and it's a very nice
logo.
It's good. Yep. And there's all over the league. You're seeing, it's like, if you keep going in and saying, oh, we're going to do this game. The Crew had one of those logos that was really nice, very solid. Definitely led you to want to support the team. And then just to refresh it, to rip out the name from the Crew name. If we're going to keep doing this, we're never going to develop any history. It's going to go away. And I know it's not. Of all the things that are major, if you told Crew fans 2 years ago, you got to deal with this ugly ass logo, or you're going to lose your team to Austin, they would say, we'll take the ugly logo. Let's be clear about they have the team, they're getting the new stadium, looks great. I want to go to the new stadium. But yeah, it's sad. It's sad they did it. They said they consulted fans, but the groups were like, they showed it to us. Yeah. They showed it to us and we're like, here it is. And we're like, that looks terrible. Well, we're doing it anyway. We've already paid for it. So the check's already cleared. We can't do anything about it. So,
and like's been said 100 times, we have very recent evidence about how this goes poorly. Literally 1 year ago, Chicago Fire did this. Every single fan was like, oh no, that's dumb and stupid. And we hate it. We hate it a lot. And now they redid it. They basically said, we'll play 1 year with this because we bought all this stuff and we're just going to do it. But we're redoing it and we're bringing in the fans from the start.
Yep. And
we'll develop. It just seems so smart to me.
Yeah.
Do one of these town hall things. Do like a small working group. You get to do what you want to do. And then you get to say it was the fans' idea. And then they have their buy-in from the start. And then they're all going to buy new stuff because they're not mad at you. So everybody wins. Like, what is the purpose of doing it in secret? There's no benefit.
Yeah. And, you signed NDAs, and yes, there was a chance it leaks. And there was talk, there were fans that were like, this logo looks, the DC logo. There were certain fans that got easy early access to it, and they said like, yeah, it's going to be good. Like you're going to like it. It's going to be a solid logo, like a solid rebrand. It's not anything crazy. They didn't go anything. Now I believe there have been talks, low-level talks about DC United changing their name. I hope that never happens. I really hope. I hope people in the front office are seeing the reaction to the Houston logo rebrand, the Columbus logo. I hope that has scared them off of ever trying this ever again.
We will harness the power of DC United Twitter.
Yes.
The black magic of DC United Twitter. We will harness it, and it will be the single mission of this show to destroy that idea. So do not do it. Please don't do it. I'd rather talk about soccer games, but if you make me do it,
yes,
I'll do it.
All right, let's talk about good things going on with our soccer teams as we close out this show. Alexander Ovechkin is now an owner of the Washington Spirit,
Yes.
which is cool. Which is cool and good to see. It's cool to have him as an owner. It's cool to have all the people that are getting involved. This is name recognition. It brings a lot of attention, not just the financials of that.
Notable too, because it was directly indicated there he is committing finances. So the other when they added 7,000 new owners, it was not confirmed that each of those owners have a cash stake in the operation. Ovechkin is putting dollars in, and I think that's great. He and his wife are sort of both names on there, similar to sort of the LAFC model where there was lots of sort of family groups. I think Serena Williams' daughter is an owner, part owner. So he was just as a quick, this is going to be this is like a rare for them. The Spirit are going to be leading. I think they were probably on NBC Sports, Channel 4. All of the folks were on the call, but he was inspired by his mother's athletic career. She played basketball in Russia, and it was always a question of it was very challenging for them to get fans to go see their games. So he understands that the quality of play has always been great. It's just about figuring out a way to get the attention on it deserves. So I think that was part of what he was motivated by. He was also motivated by the fact that this is a tremendous financial opportunity for any investor. And that was the question I tried to get into the press conference today, is understanding that this is a large untapped potential. It's the only one left, right? Like sports is now for billionaires. Anywhere else, all the other sports that exist, this is it. This is the last frontier. 99% of ad revenue in sports go to men. 97% of media attention goes to men. So the only room you have to grow here is in women's sports, and you see over and over again it's on an upward trajectory. If you look at soccer in Europe. For the women's game, exponentially increasing, getting much more exposure on broadcast television in America. It's only a matter of time, and I think that you're going to see this more and more and more. I think Just Women's Sports had a big buy-in today as well, which is a network that covers Just Women's Sports. Kevin Durant, there were a bunch of Elena Della Donna was one of them, but Kevin Durant, as we're sticking with the male athlete involvement, had put money into that. So the idea is that they can expand their coverage and do more. So it's just smart business sense. If I had money to invest in sports, it would absolutely be in women's sports. That is so clearly where to go. Yeah. I just hope the league, I'm sorry. I hope the league keeps up with that, right? I think that they're not held back in an MLS way, that their hopes and aspirations are not limited by their poorest owners.
Yeah, and I think they have to be, because I think right now that you are advertising yourself. I mean, this isn't a situation where MLS is trying to catch up with Europe. You are the premier women's sports league in the United States, but right now you have competition. You have England waking up, and you have a lot of these teams like Man City and Chelsea that don't have to be, I don't even know if like financial fair play comes into UEFA to the women's side of the game, but they can spend as much money as they want, and they can lose as much money as they want. And I think that is where you as the NW, so you cannot stand pat. and say, oh, we're fine. We'll be fine. Everything's going to be good. We got the U.S. women's players, because as soon as you get into a CBA and the women and U.S. soccer steps back and they're like, all right, we need this restriction on us playing in the NWSL removed, because Chelsea and Man City are offering us, $3, $4, $5 million contracts, and we're getting peanuts here. We're going somewhere else. So
Chelsea spent and they won the WSL, and they're in the Champions League final. They set the record for most expensive transfer with Pernille Harder. They're just spending, and the owner Roman Abramovich has said, like, basically, I'm not going to stop. This is where we can grow, and becoming a world powerhouse in this until the rest of the world wakes up. We'll just keep cashing those checks. So, like you said, I think that there are teams. England, there are like super teams playing in the space. Lyon is serious. Juventus is getting serious. Barcelona has now finally started. Real Madrid, they're now starting to invest a little bit more. Mm-hmm. It's the future. It is the horizon that's exciting. So
and we're seeing down south in Mexico. I've been watching some of the Liga Mex Femenil games, and that quality has been really good. Tigres is absolutely wrecking like everybody. They beat Club America 4-0. You think of Club America as like the big powerhouse. They absolutely destroyed. Tigres absolutely destroyed Club America. It was not even close. So
this is us browbeating you to continue to watch and support women's soccer.
You bought that 2DM package to watch MLS. It's all there. I have the recorder set and everything to pick it up. So
we actually have we'll be covering the team full season. So we'll be there watching the games, giving at this moment, this is our the most access we've got to any of the teams we cover. So you'll be seeing a lot of Spirit content on the show, on the website, on social media. So their first game, I believe, is Sunday away to Orlando. So prepare for that. We'll also talk about that on the Thursday show as well.
Yep, absolutely. All right, I think that's going to do it. I think we're going to go ahead and just we're going to wrap up the show again, guys. Patreon.com, join our Patreon, $5 tier. Submit your meme. Try to win the scarf, the
SpongeBob meme, a special dispensation for SpongeBob memes for the cherry blossoms.
I can think of it too with Lasada and fitness, like that comes from SpongeBob. That was
there
a
you
show.
go.
There was a show.
Ted's giving you free ideas,
free ideas and free advice and a free way to win.
Yep.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. rfkrefugees.com. We're going to work on getting some more content on the site. I've got a couple posts I'm mulling over on how to write. So definitely check out the site. Twitter.com/rfkrefugees. The Patreon, obviously, which I just mentioned. Facebook.com. We're everywhere. Also on every Mondays at 8:30 on YouTube, we will have a live show. So if this is your first time checking us out, hit that little bell icon on the show and get notified when we go live. Yep, down there.
Pointing where it would be somewhere in the bottom third.
Somewhere down here. Somewhere down here. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for listening. We will catch you guys later in the week. Vamos.